Hello students, you're welcome to class. Today we'll be looking at the problems facing Nigerian federalism. In our last class, we considered the meaning, the reasons for adopting federalism in Nigeria, and also some of the effects of Nigerian federalism. We are going to be looking at the problem of revenue allocation. Revenue allocation, as we all know, is a major problem affecting the effective application of the principle of federalism in Nigeria. Over the years, we have made use of so many revenue allocation formula. For the purpose of our discussion today, we are going to be looking at some of the principles surrounding revenue allocation formulas in Nigeria. The first one is the principle of derivation. As we all know, states having huge deposits of mineral resources tend to follow this principle because this principle is based on you get according to what you contribute. I'll repeat that again. You get according to what you contribute. That's what the principle of derivation is talking about. The second is the principle of population. Under this principle, we share revenue generated by the federal government according to the population density of a state. So you get according to your population strength. As we all know, those states who are having a very high population density, they tend to accept and follow this principle because they will benefit more from this principle. The third one is the principle of equality of states. Here, irrespective of your size, population, and other conditions, all states get equally from the federal government. That's what the principle of equality of state is talking about. Then the next principle is the principle of even development. Here, states get from the federal government or federally generated revenue to develop evenly. So we can say that if Edo State gets 20%, Lagos State, irrespective of its size and population, will also get such amounts. This is because the country will develop evenly, irrespective of size. The fourth one is minimum development standard. Here, we are looking at the basic things, basic necessity required in a state. So we are saying that state gets from the federal purse as a result of the level of development. So what we are saying in essence is that this development must run across board. There are certain things that each state must have. So when you apply the principle of minimum development standard, we are saying that all states must possess or have access to basic needs like water, health, education, and so on. Nigeria has adopted so many revenue allocation formulas. And today we are going to be looking at some of the revenue allocation commission that was set up right from pre-independence days. First, we'll start with the Federalism Commission. The Federalism Commission was established or formed in 1946. Its recommendation was on derivation, meaning you get according to what you contribute. Then secondly, we have the Federalism Commission. This was established in 1951. Federalism Commission recommended the principle of derivation also. So we can say that Federalism and Federalism Commission both recommended the principle of derivation, meaning revenue should be shared according to the principle of derivation. Thirdly, we are going to look at the Resma Commission. The Resma Commission recommended the creation of redistributable pool accounts, and the sharing should be based on derivation, needs, and minimum responsibility of government. The next one is the Beans Commission of 1964. The commission gave the northern region 42%, eastern 30%, western 20%, and the midwestern 8%. And the principle of sharing was based on needs an even development. So we can say that Beans Commission made use of the different principles. But mind you, we should take note of the Philipson and Higgs-Philipson Commission. These two commissions established a revenue allocation formula based on derivation. The next revenue allocation commission was the Diners Commission of 1968. The commission recommended that all revenue to be shared should pass through the redistributable pool account, excepting the 20% from onshore mining, rent, and royalty which went to the state of origin. The formula was rejected by the then military head of state. So we can say that this commission actually recommended a principle, but it was rejected. The next commission is the Upss.Edu Technical Committee of 1977. The recommendation was rejected by the government, claiming that it was too technical. So we can say that the Upss.Edu Technical Committee was too technical for the government to accept its recommendation. The next one is the UGIAGBE Technical Committee of 1980. It recommended that the federal government should have 58.5%, the state 31.5%, and local government 10%. So we can say that this commission recommended percentage sharing, meaning the federal government should benefit more, followed by the state and also the local government. The last one we'll be considering today is the Danjuma's Commission. The commission was established in 1988, and it recommended that federal government should have 50%, states 30%, local government 15%, and special fund 5%. Basically, all these commissions and their recommendations were used according to the time we were in the history of Nigeria. But the controversies surrounding revenue sharing formula in Nigeria is still on. As we all know, those who support the principle of population, they are supporting that principle because they have more population. While those who support the principle of derivation are also in support of that principle because they will benefit more from the principle. In all this, we can say that revenue allocation formulas in Nigeria has so far affected the development and progress of Nigeria. Because as a result of these failed revenue allocation formula, so many insurgent groups have been emerging. The first one is the movement for the emancipation of Niger Delta. Because of the dissatisfaction of some states, groups have been formed to fight against the various revenue allocation formula recommended by the federal government. So we can say that this problem is unending. Thank you very much for joining me in this section, and I hope to see you again in our next class. Stay safe.